Hello and welcome to Yoga with Carolyn. I have a very special conversation to share with you that I had with a really dear soul, as well as a very exciting announcement to share with you. I will also mention that I have notes right here on my laptop because I really wanted to make sure that I shared all of the words that I wanted to. So if you see me peeking over here, it's because I just want to make sure that I am staying true to what I wanted to say, because I'm really excited, and I wanted to make sure I wasn't too scattered. So Pascale Côté is our guest today in the conversation that we are having around creativity as a self-care practice. Pascale Côté is a coach for artists and creative minds. She guides them to soften their mind, find focus, and navigate their rebellious path with more calm, so they can become empowered artists, conscious creators, and inspiring change makers. So I first met Pascale when her and I actually worked together when I was looking for some coaching support when I first created Yoga with Carolyn. And oh my goodness, there is so much that I still turn to in terms of her wisdom and the things that I learned throughout the few months that we worked together. So not only is she a really insightful and nourishing coach, she does a beautiful job of really holding space for all of the stuff that comes up when you are navigating a creative path. But she also is part of the Yoga with Carolyn community. You can actually find her participating in the Yin Yang live stream yoga class on Fridays. So the thing about Pascale is that she gets it. She is part of this community. She is one of us. She understands the need for slowness, for gentleness, for a cyclical approach, a seasonal approach to your self-care journey. So in this conversation, we talk about creativity as a self-care practice, how you can actually infuse creativity in the way in which you navigate life and the way that you care for yourself. And we also discuss her amazing workshop that she created for the Summer Solstice offering called Blossom, where registration opens for that today. So this offering will not only help you celebrate the summer solstice, so the transition from spring into summer, but will also offer you a space and practices and resources within which you can find support as well as inspiration this season. So this offering directly came out of my realization within myself and within a few other members that are part of this community that this summer can be a lot, especially for those who identify or relate with being highly sensitive or being creative or being really earth-loving. So not only is the summer exciting, yes it is, it's beautiful, there is so much to be enjoyed within this season, but it can also feel very bright, very overstimulating, and very busy. So I reached out to Pascale a few months ago because I thought that her wisdom around nurturing your creative self could act as a really supportive anchor for those who might benefit from some extra support during the summer season. So consider Blossom your summer survival toolkit, but in a really nice way, not like a scary survival way. So there's many different components to be found within this offering. The live components will be a yoga practice with me, where we will gather on Sunday, June 26th. So you've actually got two class times to choose from. Both classes happen on June 26th, but there's an outdoor offering for those who live in Ottawa, Ontario. And then there's also a live stream class time that you can choose from for those of you who are joining us from around the world. In this yoga practice, this is going to be a 90-minute yoga practice. It's going to be very gentle with a nice blend between some gentle movement but also some yin-inspired stillness. And we're going to infuse the energy of that practice with curiosity, with some play, and with just some nourishing vibes so that you can pause and tune in with how it is that you're feeling during this transition from spring into summer. And then the other components are all self-guided components. So Pascale has put together this really beautiful, joy-filled workshop. Within this workshop, you will find a audio recorded walking meditation, a playful journaling session, a guided practice to design your own creative playground, so a space to explore, play, and experiment during the season, and a creative activity where you might just learn how to make your own flower paper to infuse your creative space with the energy you wish to cultivate this summer. You will also gain access to your summer playbook, filled with different ways within which you can turn to flowers to find support and inspiration this season, through flower essences, baking with flowers, creative practices, and a tarot card spread to connect with your summer intention. It was so much fun and such a pleasure for Pascale and I to collaborate and blend our passion for all things creativity and self-care through this offering. I'm personally really proud of this offering. It makes me a little bit emotional because this is something that I've been wanting to put together for a while, and I'm just so overjoyed that I was able to do it with somebody that I really respect and I really admire. So I'm really excited for you to take part in this offering. I think it's something that is really beautiful, and I think you'll find a lot of support from it. So if this sounds like exactly what you might need this summer season, then please visit my website, yogawithcarolynne.com/seasonal gatherings. The link to that is found in the description box below or in the weekly letter that you are listening from. And we would be really honored to have you join us. So now that I've got that announcement out of the way and you are officially invited, I hope that you enjoy our conversation. Welcome to Yoga with Carolynne, teaching empaths and sensitive souls just like you how to create a collaborative relationship with your body through cozy, accessible yoga and self-care practices in order to live a life filled with less doing and more being. All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Yoga with Carolynne YouTube channel and to my conversation with the lovely Pascale. So welcome, Pascale. It's so lovely to have you here, and I'm really, really looking forward to having this conversation with you all about creativity as a self-care practice.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Carolynne.
Yeah, amazing. Okay. So first question, this is very intentionally chosen, was I'd really love for you to tell the listeners a little bit more about you, but not as a work persona, like you as a human.
Of course. Well, I am located in Montreal, Canada, and I am planning to move abroad in a few months from now. So it's been kind of unsettling to be in one place over the past couple of years because I'm used to traveling a lot, and it's really my main source of inspiration when it comes to creativity. So I'm really excited about that. So that's mainly what's going on in my personal life at the moment, is planning this move, getting very excited about traveling again. I'm also in the process of writing a book, and I am planning a little art retreat for myself this summer. So I'm excited about that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's so exciting. Okay, big things, lots of big things happening.
Lots of
And
big
then in
things, yeah.
terms, yeah. So then in terms of your work and what you do for a living, would you like to share a little bit more about that?
Of course. So I'm a coach, and I work with artists and creatives, creative entrepreneurs, makers, crafters, to help them with their creative process inside and out. So I help them mainly navigate the ups and downs that we can find on the creative path, because it's a very vulnerable journey, as I am sure you know. And we are wired differently as creative minds, so it needs a specific kind of support as well. So I help them with owning their creative identity, with clarifying what their vision is, what their mission is. If they want to turn it into a business, that we can look at that as well to grow their creative business. But I would say most importantly is just to help them navigate the internal dialogue that comes with being a creative mind, the overwhelm, the inner critic, the procrastination, the perfectionism, all the self-doubt. So just helping them kind of untangle the knots on their path so that it's easier for them to bring their projects to completion.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mentioned in the intro that you and I did actually work together when I first put together Yoga with Carolynne, and just to hear you talk about the vulnerability and just all of it, yes, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I think I can definitely say that you do a really beautiful job of holding space for all of that, because it's there's so much up and down, and it's a really vulnerable process.
It is. It is.
Yeah, you have to get
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, you have to get in pretty deep. So yeah.
Yeah, and I feel just very, very grateful, very blessed to be doing this work, and just very privileged as well to be working with people that are truly inspiring. Like they just inspire me to be a better person every day, and they share such like exciting visions, and they can really make a difference um, in what they're creating in their communities. So it's just like such a fun work that I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I can appreciate that. It's like once you see whoever it is that you've been working with, like kind of show up and be like,
Yeah,
okay, this is me, this is what I've done. I can imagine that there's like a great sense of like pride that like you've been kind of in the background helping them get to that point, like a proud mama a little bit.
absolutely. It's just so exciting to just help them commit to their creative vision and commit to their creativity and the work that they want to do. And while we're working together, I am there to hold their vision, and then when they bring it to life is just such an exciting part of their journey. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. So then in terms of your journey that has gotten you to the place that you are with kind of really owning this title as a coach for creative minds, can you share a little bit more about that?
Of course. Well, my journey doesn't make sense on paper, as I'm sure many other journeys don't. Like it's not a very linear path, but I would say every step of this journey allowed me to gather the skills and learn the lessons that I needed for the next step. And I know we're kind of used to hearing people share about their journey, their professional journey in a very like linear path. So I kind of don't want to do this today because I don't want to reinforce the fact that things need to be linear, because that's not true. And I think many of us, we prevent ourselves from going after what we want in our dreams because when we look on our CV, like our resume on a piece of paper, it just doesn't make sense because we don't have the certification, we don't have the experience, the knowledge, or whatnot. But when you look at it from another lens, like from the lens of what are the skills that I've built, what are the lessons that I've learned, sometimes you can see it differently and kind of realize, you know what, I am ready for this, or I can do this. Um, so, like, for sure, my path was helpful in technical ways with art school and business school and working in different industries. But if I look back and like kind of reflect on where I am today, helping creatives navigate this process, helping people that have a different kind of life, that are a bit different, a bit more unconventional, to accept who they are and to go after what they want and to create something different in the world, I needed to learn certain lessons to get there, and I needed to build certain skills. And for example, I'm just going to share something more concrete, but for sure, like art school was helpful in more technical ways. But it was also the first time in my life where I felt like I belonged in a community where my weirdness was accepted, and I needed that space to be able to kind of go on my healing journey. And then if I look at my experience in the advertising industry, for sure it was helpful to manage clients and manage deadlines and projects and whatnot. But I think in order to do what I'm doing now, I really needed to be immersed in a very toxic environment with hustle culture and understand the impact or the negative impact that it can have on your mental health, especially in a creative environment. So I'm just sharing through that lens because I think I would just invite the people that are watching to take that lens and to see, well, what did I learn? What are the skills that I've built through my journey? Because that can be even more helpful than having some type of certifications. I don't know if this makes sense, but I just wanted to share it in a different way.
Yeah, no, that completely makes sense. It's like you had to you had to go through the discomfort and the shit in order to be
Yeah.
able to speak to it. Like,
Exactly. In
yeah,
order for me to properly be able to coach someone and guide someone through owning who they are as someone different, someone sensitive, someone who is dealing with mental health issues, going through the creative process, maybe working through like stepping away from certain narratives like hustle culture and perfectionism. I had to go through it myself. And these different experiences just put me in a place where I needed to be able to overcome this on my own, gather some tools, and be able to help people with that. So I'm not sharing so much of the professional, because if you look at it this way, like I said, I went to art school, I went to business school, I did market research, I worked in advertising, then I started to write business plans for coffee shops. And then I had a vegan skin care line. And then I had a travel agency. And then I coached digital nomads. Like, it looks like I'm very messy and all over the place, which might be the case, but I really focused on just following my intuition, because every step of the way, whatever you're doing, it's not so much about what you're doing, but more about what you're learning through it. So I'm just trusting that wherever I am is going to lead me into the next step. And I hope other people can see it that way as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's the interesting thing about following your intuition, is that the thing that I've kind of noticed is that, yeah, it's definitely messy. And the thing about your intuition is that it usually only gives you like the next like one, maybe two steps.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah. And sometimes
man,
it
come
doesn't make
on.
any sense. Yeah. But you have to trust that you're going to learn what you have to learn, because for sure, when my intuition, like I was in a skincare line, and then I was like, you know what, I'd love to be a travel agent. Like, it just doesn't make sense. But I had to get there because I was working with a business partner, and that was super helpful to know what kind of person I want to work with, what works and what doesn't in a partnership. And I needed to know that to be where I am today. So, I mean, trust your intuition, see where it leads you.
Fair.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. All right. So jumping a little bit more into the kind of bulk of what we were talking about today. So how do you feel, kind of in more broad terms, creativity plays into self-care? What's the relationship between the two?
For me, in more of broad terms, I would say that it just really helps you to understand how you're feeling. Because if you want to take care of yourself and tend to your needs, it's easier to know what you're actually going through and what you're feeling. And it's not always easy to pinpoint. So I think that having that creative outlet just helps you create space to meet yourself wherever you're at through a certain outlet. And it helps you kind of get out of your mind and more into your body, more into your heart, and then explore what exactly you're going through. Like, sometimes until I'm done with a creative project, I don't even know how I've been feeling. And then I look at my drawing or my painting and I'm like, oh, wow, I've been through a lot of pressure lately, or I didn't realize I was that sad, or I was grieving. Because sometimes you cannot really put into words, or it's like you feel it in your body, but you don't really know what's going on. So I feel that this creative outlet just helps you understand what you're feeling. And once you understand what you're feeling, then it just becomes easier to tend to it and to choose the right self-care practice to support you.
So beautifully said. It's interesting, as you're answering the question, I'm thinking about, well, I was going to lead into how does self-care and kind of your experience within the yoga practices, because you're part of this community, you come to these classes, how does that play in? And hearing your answer, I'm like, that's exactly how I feel about yoga. So, so I would love for you to touch on that and your experience of being part of these classes and what correlation you see there.
Absolutely. I think there's a little bit of a lag, but can you hear me? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Hey, we're still here.
Internet struggles. But yeah, I've been part of the community for over a year now, and I've been following the YouTube channel for, I guess, almost since the beginning. And it's just been incredibly supportive on so many levels, like on a weekly basis, to just make sure I have this space for me to meet myself on the mat and to take care of myself, and to also connect with other people, even if I'm always like very quiet and off camera, like I'm there. And it's just so supportive to be part of this community. So on a weekly basis, but also going through some more intense moments in my life over the year, that's been incredibly supportive. And as you said, like, taking care of yourself is like the correlation between creativity and self-care is pretty much the same as yoga and self-care as well, because if you're a member of this community, you know that Carolynne kind of teaches us to explore and to use the space on the mat as a space that you meet yourself and you take care of yourself and you explore what that looks like and you ask yourself what you need and then you see how you want to tend to it. And creativity is the same kind of thing where you create a space for yourself to just be there. So it's not about producing something perfect. It's not about like creating a perfect shape on the mat. It's exactly the same. It's like, let's play a little bit. Let's see what's going on internally. Let's ask ourselves how we might want to tend to these needs or to just feel good and just to play and have fun and experiment and explore. So in that sense, it's absolutely, very, very similar.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's coming to mind as well is that the same thing that I see around people's thoughts and shoulds around yoga is that there's only one way to do it and it only looks a certain way. It's maybe not for me. And that I know for myself around creativity, I have had those same shoulds go through my mind. But the beautiful thing is that there is so much more space within creativity than what we've been told to believe. So I wonder if you can talk a little bit more about that, like around like what, like for those who might be listening or watching and thinking, well, I'm not really creative, so I don't really know how I can commit to my creativity. What would you say to that person?
That's not true. First and foremost, I think we all have this inner creative energy. You can see just as a type of energy, but it's the energy that we're in when we're just tending to our inner child and we're playing. And if you've been following Carolynne's channel, you know that at some point she always invites us to find a certain variation or to explore a shape in a different way, or through a different lens. That's also being creative. Like when you invite us to in downward facing dog to explore like what might you need today? Like how do you want to go through this today? Like how do you want to go through this shape? That's a layer of creativity that you're bringing. So it's not just painting something, like it's not an artistic expression. Creativity is just the energy that you're into when you're just like exploring, experimenting, finding solutions as well, and going outside the box, like just not following the path that you're on or like the automated things that you're usually doing. It can be when I'm going back from work and to my house today, what other path can I take? That's also being creative. Like there's so many ways of just cultivating this energy.
Yeah, there's like this beautiful blend of like, yeah, curiosity, play, trust, doing things differently, getting out of your comfort zone. Like it's just this like fun interweaving experience.
Yeah, it's a lot of what if and what would happen if.
Yeah, totally. Oh, I love that. Okay. So in terms of the work that you do as a creative coach, what do you love about witnessing the power that committing to your creative self has for the clients that you work with?
I would say that, well, when they commit to their creative self, they commit to themselves. They commit to their truth. And I think that's very, very important because when you commit to who you are and to your truth and your creative self, you become a much more grounded creative. And I think a grounded creative is a very powerful human being that has the potential to create change because they're able to see things differently, to bring another perspective, to bring some texture, some depth, some color, some things we haven't seen, to see things differently, to bring some joy, but also to, like, depending on what their outlet is, it can also be very helpful and very healing for the communities that they're serving. So it's just very exciting for me to see them commit to who they are, because it means they're committed to their vision and to bring their creative work in this world. And we need it. We need it so badly. So it's just very, very exciting to see that.
Yeah. Oh, that's really beautifully said. It's true. We do need it. We always need more creative
Yeah.
people and creative energy.
We need solutions, and creativity is about solutions. Like, we don't need just to see the problems. We need to feel empowered to find solutions and create the change. I think it's easy to feel helpless and powerless, and we're actually not. That's just a
Mhm.
lie that we're believing. But I think creative people can help us see different ways, find different solutions, and empower ourselves to actually make a change.
Yep, that was the word that was coming to my mind too when I was listening. Yeah, empowerment. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's like empowerment is it's I was gonna say intoxicating. It's like resonating. Like
yeah,
it just like gathers people in and it like it's infectious. That's the word that I'm looking.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to pivot a little bit towards Blossom. So, in the intro, I shared a little bit more about the why behind this summer solstice offering, but I'd love to hear a bit more about your joy-filled creative workshop that is part of Blossom, and why you chose the few components that you did. Because the thing that came to mind when I was witnessing you put this together, and when I also had the opportunity to kind of go through the workshop that you created, is how intentionally and carefully laid out it all is, and that every part is just infused with such care. So I'd really love for you to share a little bit more about this workshop that you've created.
Of course. Well, I think ultimately I just wanted the participants to have a resource that they could implement right away that could make it easier or more simple for them to commit to their creativity, and also something they could go back to adjust. But I know it is difficult to commit to your creativity. I know it's vulnerable. I know it's intimidating as well. So I just wanted to create something, a resource that people could use to make it easier, to make it a little less vulnerable or a little less intimidating, and for them to make it easy for them to take this step, create their space, reconnect with their creativity, see how that can just play into their lives. So I've created a few different resources. I don't know if you want me to share about it or.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I've created a walking meditation in nature just for them to reconnect with the artist within. And I wanted to create it in nature as well, in a walking meditation, because I wanted them to be surrounded by something inspiring as well. I've also created a workshop. So there are different parts. The first one is a journaling workshop. It's a playful one. It's not something to get in your mind or a questionnaire. It's like three well-crafted prompts to help you explore your relationship with your creativity, and see what that looks like for you, how you want to integrate it in your life. And then we go through a design workshop to create your space. So it's much easier when you have a dedicated space in your house, in your apartment, to dedicate to your creativity. It can also be a mental space, but I just wanted them to have something tangible to go through. So it could be a physical space, could be some type of structure or ritual, just for them to make it easier to kind of get into the flow and feel supported as they go through it, because the inner critic is going to pop up, or we might find some different excuses to not commit to it. So boundaries are very important. Having an intention is very important. So I just wanted them to have that resource. And then they'll also go through two creative projects, two simple creative projects at the end. So
Mm. Yeah, it's really beautiful. I'm really, really excited for people to enjoy it. Um, and the thing that I really like that you've said a couple times is the simplicity infused within this
yeah.
workshop, because as you know, because we're friends and you know kind of my experience, like the summer can be a lot. The summer can be really intense. And it's like, yeah, it's bright, it's boisterous, there's just like a lot going on. And for some, that's amazing and it's beautiful. And also for sensitives and creatives, it is amazing. There's so much inspiration to be seen, but to balance that out with simplicity and like anchoring energy is just so important.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, there's already so much going on in our lives and in our minds. So I just wanted it to be very simple so it's easy to implement. Otherwise, you're just like, you're never going to do it. So I wanted it to be very like right away you can implement it and do it and just prove to yourself that you can do it. And also to just for them to experience how healing that can be and how fun that can be.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's also a lot of permission given within the workshop, to speak more about you can do it is I think the thing for me that I've seen within my own self-care practice is that it's the self-care practices that have come out of what it is that I know that I need instead of what are other people telling me to
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
Those are the things I'm actually going to stick to. And I think that within the workshop, you've left a lot of space for people to actually find those things that
Exactly.
come from them instead of you're telling them what to do.
Absolutely. And also I wanted it to be something you can go back to because for sure you evolve, you grow, your needs are going to change. So you can go back to it and redo the exercises to kind of adjust what your creative playground, I've called it creative playground, looks like so that it kind of meets your need in a certain season of your life. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Because the summer is long and that we go through many different cycles within a season. And maybe this summer isn't intense for you and maybe this will be something that's supportive for you in another season in your life. So
Absolutely.
yeah, exactly. Amazing. Okay. So, I mean, we could chat about this forever, but I've got one last question for you to end our conversation. So for those who are watching and listening, who might be looking for some guidance today on how to find support in their self-care practices, what's one simple way someone can turn to creativity to help support them through a more kind of busier, overwhelming time in their life?
Well, a little bit like we were talking earlier, to create that space for yourself on the mat, to meet yourself, to meet your needs, to just be with yourself, a space to be. I see creativity kind of the same way. So it's a very supportive practice to, you can see it as an active meditation, if you will. I know for myself, like I'm very anxious. And I have this habit of drawing hair because the repetitive movement of like fine lines and like feeling the pen on the paper is just so soothing for me. So you can find whatever could work for you. For example, if you're feeling angry, maybe it's like how do you say pastel gras? I don't know what it is. Like it's like oil pastel.
Oh, there we
Is
go.
that a word? Yeah,
Pastel.
because you're like you have to really like go at it with your pencil or paint or whatever. So you can also look at it as in terms of what do I need, how am I feeling, and then choose the outlet based on what you need. Like for me, the repetitive movements with a soft pencil is very soothing, and then painting is like I like if I'm angry, it's amazing. Dance as well. So I think it's very helpful when you're going through a more overwhelming season or moving through a lot of anxiety or stress. It can be such a beautiful place to meet yourself and tend to your needs the same way you do on the mat.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like it's, and I mean, we know this, but I'm going to say it anyways, but instead of how can I not be feeling the way that I'm feeling, which is never going to help. It's how can I find something that it's going to let what I'm feeling to just totally take over.
Exactly.
Yeah. And know that I'll be safe throughout that process.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's to just accept whatever emotion that you're going through and just support yourself as you ride that wave. So if
Totally.
you're really in your head, get into your body, make bread, just the action of doing something with your hands and it's just very healing as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think that'll be really helpful. Well, thank you so much for collaborating with me with this offering. It's really exciting. I'm really proud of what we've put together.
Me too.
Yeah. I think that
Yeah.
people will really enjoy it. And thank you very much for joining me and having this conversation with
Thank
me.
you for having me.